Hello, World Wide Web. Welcome back. I'm GW Pomichter. You're watching the Hangin With Web Show, and we hope you will subscribe. Hit that little bell because then you'll get notified on your phone whenever we talk to an artist, author, filmmaker, musician, game creator, creative mind of any kind. You can come back and watch that. We are here at MegaCon 2019 in beautiful Orlando, Florida. I assume it's beautiful Orlando.
Yeah,
I haven't been out there. I tried to get pie, but the crowds are like 73 deep. So we're here in Orlando, Florida. We're hanging out with author, game designer, critic, creator,
Chef,
chess player, collector, Jack Butler. There's nothing more I got nothing else. I ran out of things. But I probably an average handicap golfer. I don't know.
no, actually, golf is something I'm not very good at. Volleyball I can do.
Volleyball, okay.
Fair shot at basketball, but not golf.
Not golf.
Never was good at golf.
I can't. The idea of just chasing that tiny white ball for 18 holes, and I don't drink, so the 19th hole is not a reward for me.
Right.
Yeah, doesn't make any sense to me. So, man, Jack, thanks for coming over and hanging out with us, man.
Absolutely.
You are working hard this weekend under the Barbs Tower.
I am.
All right.
I am. We're selling a lot of books over there.
Yeah. What are you pitching over at the Barbs Tower? What are you selling over there? What do you got?
Actually, right now we've got Sherilyn Kenson over there. We've got Cody Martin over there. We've got Keith DeCandido over there. A lot of authors who get a lot of medium play. What Barbs Tower specializes in is the authors who get ignored by the big companies, or if they're not ignored, they're only given like a month to sell their book.
Yeah.
And so their book disappears from the shelves. Well, we make sure the books don't disappear from the shelves.
Awesome. Very good. What are you
Right now, me personally, I am writing a couple of books.
Okay.
The first thing I'm doing is I'm doing a cookbook. Like I said, I'm a chef. I went to culinary school and everything. I'm writing a book called The Serve Man. It's a geek guide to cookery.
Everybody our age got that. Everybody his age went, what are you talking
It's
about?
a Twilight Zone reference, folks.
I think it was the first Twilight Zone episode I ever saw as a kid.
Oh, it's one of the classics.
Remember when they used to replay the Twilight Zones when we were kids? Like, and I saw that one and I just was always like, wow. That got me hooked on sci-fi. Because I was
absolutely.
like, wow, that is amazing.
But it's got recipes from various science fiction fantasy sources. So I've got the requisite Pan-Galactic Gargle Blaster recipe. I've got, all of Neelix's recipes from Voyager.
Oh, wow.
All kinds of stuff. I'm working on those. Right now, my primary problem is my photographer quit and started college in Washington State, so I need a new photographer.
Yeah,
because,
these kids and they want to be educated now.
And all.
I don't know what they're doing.
The other thing that I'm working on is I'm revising the Evil Overlord list. Have you heard of the Evil Overlord list?
I have, as a matter of fact, heard of the Evil. But you know what? That guy right there, his eyebrow just went up, and he has no idea what we're talking about.
Oh, him?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
You probably saw him at the Barbs Tower earlier. He looks confused.
The Evil Overlord list is a guidebook for anybody who wants to conquer the world. What you do, what you don't do. It all started back in the mid-'80s after a bunch of us, me and a couple of friends, saw this Saturday Night Live skit. It was what not to do when you capture James Bond. Don't talk to him. Don't offer him a cigarette. Don't, just
all the
shoot him.
Things that
And so we started just laughingly coming up with a list. And I took the list and I was like, this list to be made longer. And we started off, I think the first 3 guys came up with maybe 20, me and Alexi Vandenberg and a couple, it's been 30 years. I can't remember the name of the last guy. I haven't seen him in that long. But we came up with about 20 items. But within 48 hours, I had over 200 items. And right now, the list sits at over 600 tips. And what I'm doing is I'm recategorizing them, expanding upon them, and turning them into an actual book that I'll be able to sell.
That's cool.
And I'm just making it more in depth. Is what I'm doing.
You know what? The thing is so much of what we do is taken so seriously.
Yeah.
And it is. When we're at the keyboard, it's serious business.
Oh, absolutely.
But when you go through and you look at the fandom and you look around here at all the crazy that we've created, you say, there's so much ridiculous in there. Let's have some fun.
Well, that was originally what it was planned for. It was just a bunch of guys joking around. And then suddenly I go to Dragon Con, and it's like, wait a second, I recognize your name. You did that list, didn't you? I'm like, what do you mean, that list? Who's got my, somebody's got my list?
Yes,
yeah, it turns out my list is,
a lot of
Sure.
a lot of somebody's have your list, by the way.
But I've looked a lot online. Nobody has the complete list.
Just
Nobody
in
has the
pieces.
complete list.
I see. Okay.
Um,
What is the most surprising item on your list?
The most surprising item on the list?
Something somebody wouldn't necessarily think of off the top of their head. Because
Oh,
I mean,
my.
you guys, like you said, you started with 20 or 30 and then maybe 100, but you got a lot more now. So what's one that was like the obscure that no one thought of, but it's common, it happened. It's in
Okay, the
fiction.
most obscure it would have to be, and this is the quote, keeping in mind today's expanded gender roles, I will look out for any prophecy that says that no man will kill me.
Very good.
Yes.
You know what? That is a good one. Because especially older fiction.
Oh yeah.
Older fiction was very gender biased, and so there were a lot of no man will do, this one,
Yeah.
and gender roles, because they shifted, some of the early 90s and early millennial fiction in movies and television especially flipped that upside down because
Yeah.
it was so, Joss Whedon himself, that's what he wrote, his treatment, he said, I wanted the little blonde girl to go down the aisle. When the monster jumped out, I wanted to turn the tables and have her
Absolutely.
kick its butt. And I was
Absolutely.
like, wow, I never thought that was a thing, but it is the way we thought back then.
I'm actually ashamed to admit that I didn't think of this one until I was rewatching Return of the King for like the 9th time, and Eowyn has this great scene where she chops off the fell beast's head, and the Lich King is
I'm
standing.
no man.
I am no man. Good.
Yes.
And he kills him,
That
and I'm
was-
like, why didn't I think of that
That's
one?
what-
And I
that
immediately
is.
added it to the list. So
But-
it's one of the last items on the list, but it's
It is, but it is obscure. We don't
Yeah.
think about it. And especially as culture changes, we don't think of the way we thought back
No,
then.
not
we
at
think
all.
of the way we think now. And so when no man will do it, today's vernacular would be no person,
No person,
human,
yeah.
whatever. But back then, it was very gender
Yeah.
specific. So, wow, that's cool.
You brought up Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon did something similar in an episode of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, where they had, the judge, no weapon forged can kill him. So she uses a rocket launcher. Rocket launchers aren't forged.
See?
It's
Perfect.
It's
just taking those words and twisting them a little bit.
Absolutely.
Things to look out for
And
when you're going to conquer the world.
I'll
That's
be
right.
honest, rewriting this list and figuring out better ways, mostly it's editing. Okay, this was a little clunky way of putting it. The hardest part I'm finding is keeping it funny, because it's supposed to be funny.
Yes.
I mean, everybody's like, oh yeah, I've seen that. But if you're not smiling while you're reading
you should
it,
be because we're not very bright. The smartest of us aren't very bright. We get locked into our
Yeah.
world. And it is funny to turn the tables over and show us when
Right.
we're not very bright. I think.
Mhm.
I imagine there's some out there that are like, that wasn't funny at all.
I've had people ask me about that kind of thing. Well, you said this on this thing. Wouldn't it be better? And I'm like, yes, it would. Thank you very much. I hope that's a consent signing, because I'm going to use exactly what you just told me.
I've had people actually tell me a street name was wrong in a book. A street like out in LA or someplace where I haven't been,
Oh.
and I'm going by an old Google map or something, and the street name is wrong in a book, and I'm like, you know what? I don't even remember.
Yeah.
I don't even remember that I wrote. It was so not important to me.
Oh yeah. You people get hung up on the details that you never.
You don't intend them to
It's like,
even
yeah,
notice.
okay, you know what? I made a mistake. I got something wrong, which is why these days I am known. I will call up. I needed to know, for example, for one book I was writing, I needed to know exactly what the street scene looked like from the Macy's department store men's window on the 4th floor of that particular building in New York City.
So
looking
you
down
called
on
them
it.
up.
I called that department and I said, hey, I need you to do me a favor. I'm in Orlando, Florida. I'm writing a book. This is what's going on. I need you to describe what the street looks like right now. And I wrote everything that nice lady said, and I talked to her for 5 minutes. And you know why I did it? Because if I got it wrong, someone somewhere,
The fans are ravenous.
one
They
of you
want it.
people would come at me
This
and go,
is-
"You got it wrong."
Yeah, this is the
know?
world that we live in, where YouTubers take hours to break
Yeah.
down teasers and show you things that filmmakers didn't even think about
Oh, yeah.
20 years ago. They have to think about, what's sitting on this table and why.
Mhm.
It's incredible. Now you also do games.
Yes, I do. I'm currently, in fact, a third project I'm working on currently.
Because he wasn't busy enough, he has to have another project.
Dilettante. I'm multi-talented. I multitask. I'm
That's
working
awesome.
on a science fiction setting for a role-playing game that I'm contractually not allowed to mention yet. I'm sure you understand.
A game soon to be named, but not today.
Yes, but it is a setting. It's a set 1,000 years in the future. Humanity's expanded out into space. They've encountered aliens. Interestingly enough, the aliens came to humanity and not the other way around. And what I'm finding interesting about it is exploring what cultural changes have happened between
In
then and
1,000
now.
years.
Given 1,000 years, given potential overpopulation, given the necessities of keeping 40 billion people alive on this planet by itself.
And you know what's amazing is when we look ahead like that,
Mhm.
it's one of the things that maybe 30, 40, 50 years ago, futurists weren't looking at was population.
Right.
And so one of the things that when we look 1,000 years ahead, space, for example, it not only becomes something, it's not like the voyage of discovery, it is necessity.
Yeah.
We have a tiny rock.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
we breed like ants.
That's one of the first things I established in this setting was, given that many people, giving that many human beings, every possibly habitable rock in this solar system is going to have people living on it.
Yeah.
The moons of Saturn, the asteroids, Mars, the moon.
The annoying
No.
woman behind the camera has our shut up card, and she wants us to look over there
All right.
really badly. Guys, we will shut up, but only because she's making us. We could talk a lot more because he does so much cool stuff. We've been hanging out with Jack Butler, who is a game designer, an author, a critic, a dilettante. I like that word. I'm gonna start saying it for fun. Dilettante. Say it with me. It's like Mr. Rogers. Dilettante. Okay? We've been hanging out with Jack. We've been having a great time. We want to thank Famous Faces and Funnies, Rick Shea and his team over there, Space Coast Comics, Indie Originals, J Bauer Art, Krypton Radio, Foxwood Wine Company, and Off the Chain Radio with author Yvonne Mason. Those are the people who share these videos all over the World Wide Web. I hope you'll do the same thing. Stay tuned in. Stay logged on. See who we're hanging with next. Blah, blah. Thank you so much.